Raw natural food, BARF prey model, is one of the healthiest choices for dogs and cats, but also one of the most dangerous when done without guidance. In this complete video, we reveal the 3 most serious mistakes that owners make on the raw diet, the silent effects that these carelessness cause in the pet's bodies, and the practical step-by-step guide to ensure a safe, balanced, and healthy transition. This video is ideal for those who already feed natural food or are considering transitioning to the raw diet. Based on real data, veterinary experiences, and examples of real owners, you will learn everything you need not to make mistakes with the ones you love the most. In a world where animal nutrition transforms every year with new studies and discoveries, thousands of owners are making the transition to natural food, more specifically, to the raw diet. Whether out of love, health, or concern for the ultra-processed foods and dry food, the decision is noble. But between good intentions and real results, there is a silent chasm. The mistakes made on the BARF diet, prey model, and other natural approaches. And these mistakes, even small ones, can cost years of life, quality and aging, and in some cases, irreversible consequences to the digestive, renal, and bone systems of dogs and cats. That's why this video goes far beyond the basics. We are not here to demonize raw food. On the contrary, we will reveal the 3 biggest mistakes made by well-intentioned tutors, show how they happen on a daily basis, and teach based on scientific data and veterinary guidance how to avoid them safely and balanced. And most importantly, let's expose what almost no one says clearly: the hidden impact that these mistakes have on pets' bodies, even when everything seems to be fine. Raw food offers undeniable benefits when done correctly. It improves skin health, reduces hair loss, reduces tartar, stabilizes weight, strengthens immunity, and in many cases, reduces chronic inflammatory conditions. But when poorly formulated, it becomes a silent hazard. No odor, no apparent symptoms, but devastating long-term effects. To begin with, we need to understand where the mistaken idea that it is enough to offer pieces of raw meat and the pet will be nourished comes from. This is one of the roots of the first big mistake: unbalanced diet due to the lack of variety and correct proportion between food groups. Many owners offer only muscle, such as chicken breast or beef, believing that this simulates the ancestral diet of dogs and cats. However, isolated muscle is low in calcium, unbalanced with respect to the calcium-phosphorus ratio, and lacking in essential fat-soluble vitamins, such as vitamin A and D. And the problem is even more serious in cats. Felines don't synthesize taurine, for example, and need it to come directly from the right tissues, especially the heart and liver. When this requirement is ignored, the effects appear months later in the form of dilated cardiomyopathy, unexplained weight loss, or irreversible eye changes. That is, even if the pet appears to be well in the first months of raw feeding, the lack of organs, bones, and complements may be slowly eroding its health. And it's not just about adding liver or gizzards. Raw food should follow specific proportions: approximately 80% muscle meat, 10% raw edible bones, and 10% organs, of which half should be liver. These proportions should be adjusted to the animal's size, age, species, and activity level. An elderly dog needs joint support. An obese cat needs high digestibility protein with fat control. And a poorly structured raw diet does not deliver this. On the contrary, it aggravates it. Another common and silent mistake is the absence of veterinary supervision specialized in natural nutrition. Many tutors start raw food based on videos, forums, or recipes replicated on social networks without considering individual variations. This is extremely risky. For example, a cat with a mild kidney history may go into a severe crisis if it is exposed to excess phosphorus from raw bones. A dog with digestive hypersensitivity can develop chronic diarrhea if there is not a proper transition with pre- and probiotics included. That is why the transition to raw food should always start with a personalized plan, preferably accompanied by a veterinarian nutritionist or a professional trained in balanced natural food. Today, there are dozens of reliable platforms, including international ones, that offer complete nutritional assessment based on biochemical tests, current weight, clinical history, and the owner's objective. But even among attentive owners, there is a third mistake that is even more dangerous and often ignored: the lack of care with the hygiene, handling, and correct freezing of raw food. And this, unfortunately, is the one that harms healthy animals the most because the symptoms do not appear immediately. Cross-contamination, bacterial proliferation from improper thawing, and excessive storage in plastic jars open the door to Salmonella, E. coli, Listeria, and other pathogenic bacteria that can directly affect pets' gastrointestinal tract, and in severe cases, the nervous system as well. At this point, it is essential to remember: dogs and cats are not wild wolves or hunting felines living in the wild. They evolved alongside us. The digestive system has changed, the microbiota adapted. Therefore, blindly trusting that they can handle contaminated meat is a dangerous fallacy. The correct thing is to treat raw ingredients with the same care that we would apply to a child's diet. Immediate freezing after portioning, slow thawing under refrigeration, use of sanitized utensils, and proper disposal of leftovers. What's more, all ingredients must be identifiable, fresh, fit for human consumption, and sourced from safe sources. No expired meat, butcher's remains, greenish bones, or viscera of dubious origin. Natural food is not improvisation, it's responsibility. Because at the end of the day, offering raw food to your dog or cat is not about fashion. It's about deeply understanding your best friend's biological needs and taking responsibility for doing so intelligently, safely, and lovingly. Within a few days of starting raw feeding, most owners notice rapid improvements. The shine of the fur increases, the volume of the stool decreases, the breath improves, and the appetite seems more active. But it is exactly at this moment that many relax. And that's where the silent errors set in. Let's dive now into real examples, subtle clinical signs, and how to solve, in a practical way, the 3 biggest mistakes of the raw diet. Starting with the first mistake, unbalanced diet due to lack of variety and adequate proportion. Imagine the case of Nina, a 2-year-old golden retriever, healthy and active. The tutor began to offer only chicken meat, gizzards, and liver, believing that this already supplied everything. For 3 months, Nina looked great, but in the 4th month, he began to show weakness in his hind legs and an inexplicable drop in energy. After tests, the diagnosis was calcium deficiency and imbalance in the phosphorus rate. The reason? Absence of raw, fleshy bones, responsible for providing the mineral basis of the skeleton. How to solve it? Include bones appropriate for the size, chicken neck, raw wing for small dogs, or ground meaty ribs for medium and large dogs. For cats, small quail wings, ground or chopped and always under supervision. Respect the ratio. 10% of the diet should be edible raw bones. Use precision scales and spreadsheets that track each portion by body weight. Second point, poorly distributed organs or absence of them. The liver, for example, is a vitamin A bomb, essential in small doses, but toxic in excess. Dogs like Thor, a border collie, began to experience peeling skin and intermittent vomiting after receiving excess liver for weeks. Cats, such as Pingo, fed without bovine heart or chicken, showed low taurine and early cardiac signs. Practical correction, divide the portion of organs, 5% liver, 5% other organs, heart, kidneys, spleen. Offer a maximum of twice a week to avoid hypervitaminosis. Rotate sources. Alternate chicken liver, beef liver, and, if possible, use noble organs from animals from reliable breeding. The second biggest mistake, the absence of professional guidance and individual adjustments, appears a lot in pets with pre-existing problems. The story of Max, a cat prone to urinary obstruction, is emblematic. When receiving a diet rich in calcium and protein without monitoring, he had a serious urinary crisis requiring hospitalization. This could have been avoided with a simple analysis of urine pH and adjustment in mineral content. How to prevent this risk? Request a biochemical panel before starting the diet. Urea, creatinine, phosphorus, calcium, TGO, TGP. Follow-up exams every 3 to 6 months. Adapt the diet to the animal's condition. Less bones for kidney pets, more collagen for elderly animals, greater energy density for puppies. And now, the third mistake, lack of hygiene and safe handling. This mistake is treacherous because it does not manifest itself in hours, but in weeks. And when it appears, it has already caused serious imbalances in the intestinal flora. Cases like that of Lola, a French bulldog, who developed gastritis after being fed chicken thawed in the sun, are more common than you might think. Essential procedures to avoid contamination. After purchase, immediately portion raw ingredients into ethical glass or silicone herm jars. Freeze for at least 72 hours before offering, reducing bacterial load. Always defrost in the refrigerator, never at room temperature. Clean countertops, knives, and jars with white vinegar or diluted chlorine solution after each use. Avoid leftovers, and never keep partially consumed food. And it is worth remembering, both dogs and cats have different digestive systems from each other. Cats, for example, are solitary hunters with much higher protein requirements, in addition to a less active thirst. Therefore, the raw diet for felines should always contain high moisture content and include supplements such as taurine and fish oil. Dogs, on the other hand, are more adaptable but still need variety and balance. So, what is the ideal path? The safe, effective, and healthy raw food model must bring together 4 pillars: nutritional planning based on science, respecting individual proportions and needs, variety of animal sources including meat, organs, bones, and good fats of controlled origin, strict hygiene in the handling, storage, and supply of food, continuous follow-up by a specialized professional with regular exams. Adopting the raw diet is indeed an act of love. But true love is the one that informs itself, that respects the nature of the animal, but also the limits of domestic coexistence. who understands that there is no magic formula, but a real commitment to the health, longevity, and well-being of our best friends. Because in the end, the question is not whether raw food works. It works. The question is, are you doing it the right way? If it is, your pet will show it, in the eyes, in the energy, in the silence of diseases that will never appear. That's it. It is priceless. Did you like the content? Leave your like, share with other tutors, and subscribe to the channel to receive weekly videos with practical tips on nutrition, health, and well-being of dogs and gatos. Calm, real information, you take better care of it, and with more awareness.